Welcome to the Overcoming Adversity podcast. I'm your host, Michael Allison. Today's guest is Shiraz Babo. He's a business owner, a speaker, and also a reality interventionist. I can't wait to get into this conversation and hear about his story of overcoming adversity and all the obstacles that he's faced and all of the lessons that he's going to share with our audience to help them overcome some of the adversity that they face in their lives. I can't wait to get into this conversation, guys. Let's go. Shiraz, welcome to the Overcoming Adversity podcast, man. It's a pleasure to have you here, man.
It's great to be here, Michael. And damn, production value on that intro. That was amazing.
Man, we do our best here, man. We've been going for about a year now, and I think we've progressively seen growth as periodically as we keep on developing, man. So thank you for that.
Oh, no worries. That was great.
So if you can, man, you said a word that I've never heard before, and I was intrigued by that when you wanted to get on the show. So what is a reality interventionist? Share that with our audience.
All right. So just the same way that you do an intervention with people, it's like your drinking is now hurting you and everyone around you.
Yeah.
We're doing an intervention. This needs to stop. I'm like, your reality is hurting you and the people around you. This needs to stop.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize that they're actually addicted to their current reality and their current circumstances. And if you're into mindset, you know that we get habits and there's just routines we follow and we don't think, but there's actually a physical component to it. So when you try to change your situation, try to change what emotion you're in, try to change specific habits, your body physically goes into withdrawal. The problem is it doesn't feel like a drug withdrawal or an alcohol withdrawal. It's just your body goes into the state. It sends a signal up to your mind that says, make this person do what they need to do so we can go back to where we feel safe and comfortable. And then you just unconsciously put yourself back into struggle or poverty or illness or loneliness or whatever it is. And you don't realize you're at the mercy of an addiction.
So for one to get to this state of realizing this and understanding this, I imagine someone had to have either been there before or have studied this. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you've developed this reality interventionist and started to gain that concept and start talking about it?
So for me, the journey actually started at birth. Because my father was half Indian and half Malaysian. My mom is South African, so the Afrikaans tribe, but there's also Dutch ancestry because apartheid. So I'm this mutt. I'm this mixed. And so people have mistaken me for Moroccan, Brazilian, Egyptian, Iranian, but mostly people look at me and they either see black or Indian. Right? And I identify as black because Africa, right? So that's all well and good, but it also meant that growing up, I got to have both black and Indian racial slurs and adversity, right? It wasn't so bad in high school and stuff. I got pulled over a couple times for walking while black, you know, that happens. And but when I started to travel, things really changed. So I had just gotten back from Brazil with a bunch of my friends. And after customs, this guy comes over and says, we need to ask you more questions. So I said to my friends, hey, they need to ask us more questions. And he goes, no, not them, just you. And I look at my friends who are white and I'm black. And I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after that, every time I crossed the border, I would get stopped. And I live in Canada. I do a lot of trips to the States. Every time I drove across that border, I get stopped. I'd ask extra questions or have my luggage searched, sometimes my person searched. It was frustrating. It was annoying. When I was flying, it would happen. It was really annoying when I'm coming back to Canada because I thought that would be more lenient coming back into my own damn country. Right? No, right? And in Europe, when I was backpacking through Europe, I actually on the Eurorail, they'd stop me between borders while other people were just crossing the trains. And I actually called some guys on it. I said, "Is this your black check?" And I just remember one guy, he turned red and he looked, the guy, "I just have to do my job." I'm like, "I'm not going to make any trouble. I just want to confirm so it's not in my hand. Is this your black check?" And he says, "Yeah, but they told us to check the black people." And so this is just what was happening. And the worst one,
I've never heard anybody like admitted something like that. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah,
Go ahead.
that guy.
Go ahead. Wow.
Because that guy, the guy himself wasn't racist. He was just told in his job, be racist, basically.
Right.
So he was, okay, it's not me, it's my boss, man. Right?
That's unbelievable, man. Wow. Okay.
This is the world. This is the world, right? And so I went to Madrid, and it was the first time I'd actually crossed the border without getting checked. And I was like, "Oh, I'm excited now. Things are changing." But then I'm standing by this big fountain in the center of town. All these tourists around me. Undercover officer comes in, says, "I need to see your passport." I'm like, "Okay." I give him my passport. He goes, "You don't have a visa. You need a visa to be in this country." And I'm like, "No, I'm from Canada. Don't need a visa to go to Spain." And he's like, "No, you need a visa. Come with me." So he takes me and he throws me in a paddy wagon. First time I've ever seen a paddy wagon. I'm on the inside now, looking out through the little window with the bars.
Yeah.
Throws another black guy in, another black guy in, another black guy in. And I'm like, "Oh, here we go again." And then there's 10 of us, and they take us in to be processed, which included a strip search and an anal cavity search.
Wow.
And so I'm in line and I'm waiting to get searched. I'm watching each person. And you can tell the whole thing is just to humiliate us, to show us we're less than, right? And that's the whole process. They don't need to be doing this. And my anxiety is building up. And because of that, two things were just not in my awareness at the time. Number one, I was in the best shape of my life. I was a bodybuilder at the time. Number two was we were in view of the holding cell that had the working girls. So when my clothes came off, that cell just erupted with like, "Woo, baby, yeah." And they were cheering me on. And I'm like, "Okay, no, you know what? This is not humiliating. This is actually pretty cool."
Oh my God. You know what, man? This is the first I've heard this explicitly out there like that. Obviously, I know about racism situations and stuff like that, but to the detail of what you just explained and share with me, I imagine that could be extremely frustrating as it keeps happening repeatedly over and over and over again.
Yes.
And you're someone that has no ill intent. You're not doing anything crazy. You're not on anybody's radar or anything like that. How was that for you, man, just to deal with that mentally, man?
It was frustrating. And I didn't realize till later how bad it was going, because every time it happened, it lowered my ambitions. Because I have to deal with this as a black man. I can only get so far as a black man. They're only going to allow me certain privileges as a black man. And it kept anchoring and anchoring and anchoring with every stop. Right? And then it accumulated to that moment in Spain where that was going on. That was like the biggest incident I've had as a border crossing. Luckily, we had those women cheering for me and made it easier. But then I spent the night on the concrete floor, and then I got the hell out of the country the next day.
Right.
But after that is when things just changed, because I came home and I was talking to one of my coaches, and I was telling him the latest border crossing story. And he looks at me and goes, "Shiraz, are you ready to step out of that story?" And before I go to my response, I want to explain stories, because this is what I do. This is what I do with reality intervention. We all have stories that are running our lives. We have good stories and bad stories. Like a lot of people have. I always find the best parking spots, right? But we also have no one ever listens to me. I can't get ahead in life. The opportunities don't show up, right? For our conscious mind, there's good and bad. For our unconscious mind, there's only good stories. There are no bad stories. And when you start to understand why your unconscious mind likes a particular story, you can start to unravel it and get out of the addiction to that story. So, for instance, a lot of people have money stories. I don't have enough money. I don't make enough money. I can just get by every month. So let's just say you have a money story that you've You just made rent that month. You didn't think you were going to do it. You were struggling through the month and you just made the rent. When you do that and you get to that little victory, you actually get hit with adrenaline and dopamine. And your body goes, oh, that felt good. Let's do that again. Now, consciously, you don't want to go through a month like that again. I can hear me. Am I not coming out anymore?
I can't hear you, Shiraz.
It doesn't say muted. I don't know what happened. Uh-oh. I can hear you fine.
Did you hear me?
I can hear you, and
All right.
It's not muted.
Testing.
Hello. Okay, this is weird. I'm going to check.
Okay.
Sounds. Input.
Let me check something, but I cannot hear you. I need to hear me, but I can't hear you. Something happened.
And
okay, let me check something on my end.
Okay. Okay. All right. Testing. Can you hear me?
Please welcome the one and only. Go on out.
Okay, that's working. Uh-oh. All right. I still don't see. I'm in the show. And I'm seeing the green bar. And I don't know what just happened. Dun, dun, dun. Testing. This is very weird. Hello. This is crazy. Okay. Hello. I wonder if everyone else can hear me. And I'm just babbling at this point.
All right, testing.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you now.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. No worries. If you can, I could edit this video, obviously. So if we can pick up on the last story that you started.
Okay.
I think it was for like about a minute or so. So we'll just start back from that story and just edit the video.
Okay. So people have good stories and bad stories. But for your unconscious mind, it's all good stories. So for instance, if you just pay your bills one month, you get hit with adrenaline and dopamine because you just managed to pay your bills at the last minute and you pulled yourself out, you saved yourself, it feels good. So your body goes, oh, that felt good. Let's do it again. Mm-hmm. Now, consciously, you don't want to do that again. But now your body is developing an addiction to just pulling things out at the last minute. So you start getting a month after month of just paying your bills and developing an addiction. This is your reality addiction. But then it gets compounded because let's say that someone's complaining about how much taxes they have to pay. And you sit there and you go, well, I barely make it by each month. I don't have to pay that much taxes. That's cool. So you put in a building block of this is why I should not make a lot of money.
Right.
You watch a billionaire screw people over and you're like, I'm never going to be like that. So, having no money makes sure I'm not a billionaire. So that's another reason. and you put in all these building blocks of why you shouldn't have money, and you've got the addiction to just getting by every month, right? But then it gets worse, because just like any drug addiction, you eventually start to develop a tolerance for it. So now your mind says, we're not getting the same fix. Let's put you further in debt so you can come back out and you'll get a bigger hit. And you're wondering what the hell is going on in your life.
Yeah.
Why is there always struggle? But you're stuck in this addiction. So that's what I'm talking about, reality addiction.
Yeah. See, wow. That was greatly explained. Wow. Okay.
All right. So then we go back to my coach talking to me. Are you willing to step out of that story? And I'm pissed now, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? This is racism. Racism's not a story. Racism is a thing. And he looks at me and goes, Shiraz, yeah, racism's a thing. But you're not getting denied jobs because you're black. You're not getting stopped in traffic because you're black. You're only getting stopped at borders because you're black. That's a story. And so I thought about it. And I said, okay, I see where you're going with this, but every story has a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see the benefit in this. I'm getting delayed. I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting humiliated. Where's the benefit? And he looks at me and goes, Shiraz, when you tell your border crossing stories, you light up. You feed off other people's reactions to your adversity. And you can't keep telling the same story over and over again. So you got to keep getting stopped at borders so you have fresh material. And he was right.
Oh my God. So there's an anticipation and there's a need to keep on traveling just so you could experience it. They probably got used to you.
Oh my God. And this is the thing, because that first time it happened, my friends were so consoling. They showed so much love for me. My brain said, I want more of this. So I had to keep getting stopped at borders. I built addiction. And here's the thing. I decided then, okay, you know what? I don't need to get love and affection from my friends for my adversity. I'm going to create success. I'm going to create big success. I'm going to celebrate with them. That's the kind of love I want. Mm-hmm. And I stopped getting stopped at the borders. It just went away. And here's the cool thing, Michael. Do you know that there are non-white customs agents?
I do know that. So what happened?
I didn't know that because I was unconsciously lining myself up with the white ones for maximum racism efficiency. Right? And suddenly I'm like, hey, he's Indian, she's Chinese. Where the hell did these people come from?
Oh my God. Oh my God. So, all right. So from reading your story and understanding more about the things that you've been through, man, I know that it could be daunting. Can you share with us, man, the journeys that has brought you through navigating life and navigating business? Because for one, I think that if I was to have some of those experiences in my life, you know, I probably would be a little bit hesitant when I travel. I probably would be a little bit hesitant when I deal with certain types of people. I might be a little bit hesitant when I deal with certain types of businesses and things like that, because I know having that experience carries a certain type of stigma. And I say that as I know, like for me, when I served in Iraq, when I was in the military, for a while, I carried a certain type of stigma around certain types of people because of my level of fear and anxiety that carried that. Can you share with us, man, how you navigated life and dealt with some of those things, whether it's in schooling, whether it's in business, whether in athletics and things like that, as you was progressing?
So once I learned about these stories, it became a reframe of what's going on with me. If you have a continuous adversity showing up in your life, it's because there's some benefit to it. You're either getting an immediate fix, like everyone's like, oh, Shiraz, poor you, and you get that fix, or in your mind, it's preventing something bad from happening. So I've had people like, I want to make more money. And we dig down, they have this unconscious belief that, well, if I make lots of money, people are going to come up and, can I have some? Can you invest in my project? You have to take care of the family now. And so your subconscious says, nope, let's not make the money because I don't want to deal with all that.
Yeah.
So any consistent adversity is not a problem. It's a solution for an emotional problem you're not looking at.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you stop saying, why is this happening to me? Why can't I get out of this? And ask, why do I want this to happen? Then the actual emotional problem can start to bubble up to the surface and come into your conscious mind. And when you resolve that, the adversity often just goes away. It's crazy how it works. So that's a big thing. And mastering that can take time, but once you do, you just start to see all these changes in your life. Number two is you have to learn to focus on what you want, basically to the extent of all else, right?
Mhm.
So are you Christian?
Yes, I'm Christian.
Have you ever heard if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains?
Yes, I have.
Okay. What's your interpretation of that?
I think that's how strong is your belief and how strong is your faith, and what are you willing to do what you're willing to do, what you're trying to get or achieve in life. And I think the thing with that is we all could accomplish anything we want in life, but there's something there that's stopping us. But if you do believe that, then you can achieve that.
Yeah. That's a good interpretation. I like that, because a lot of times when I talk about that, people say, well, it's a mustard seed. It's a little thing. You just have to have a little bit of faith and you can get through. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is at all. You see, a mustard seed knows it's going to become a mustard plant, which is actually a very strong plant. Right. It has no doubt.
It's going to do it.
It's going to do it. That's just what's going to happen. But as people, we're like, oh, I'm going to become a mustard plant. And then we hit some adversity. So, you know what? Orange tree. I can make it as an orange tree. Oh, that's not working out. Okay, grapevine. Let's go for grapevine. There's no absolute faith that things are going to work out. To do that, you have to actually build mental muscles.
Yeah.
And so what I've found works really well is if you can picture the outcome from a first person perspective and get into the feelings of being in that outcome. Like, let's say you want to be up on stage, seeing yourself on stage, feeling confident, feeling great, hearing the crowd from the first person point of view, and you hold that thought and those emotions for 30 seconds or more, that starts to rewire your neural pathways, because your brain thinks it's actually happening. And the more you do it, the more your brain says, well, this is just what I do, until that's just who you are. But most people can hold a thought for 7 seconds or less. So you see where the problem comes in.
Yes. Lack of focus is one of the biggest thing. But as you were saying that, I just thought of even expounded on that, because the mustard seed itself is going to deal with the seasons of weather. It's going to deal with all of these different things that's going to impact it, affect it, but it still doesn't matter. It still grows. It still keeps going.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And so when you get that faith and combine it with the focus and practice being in that space every day, then eventually you just know you're going to get what you want. You don't care what the adversity is. You're going through it and you're getting out to the other side.
Absolutely, man. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you're doing now within your profession, within your business, and how you're helping people. Can you expound on that a little bit? Because I know you wrote a book that you talk about some of these things that you're doing, man.
Yeah. So the book is How to Rewrite Reality. And basically it's instruction manual on how to do that. Oh, there it is. And it's about, most people are a character in their life. And some people aren't even the main character. They're like a secondary or tertiary character. And I'm like, come on, at very least be the main character. But if you can go past that, you become the author and you just decide what's going to happen in your life. And for me, my ideal clients are the ones that are experiencing what we call yo-yo results. Things start to go well and then you just lose it. And then it starts to go well and you lose it. And because what I've realized is you're coming out of an addiction, you go into withdrawal and you get pulled back in. You think it's circumstances, a client canceled or I missed an appointment or the car broke down, whatever, but you're creating everything in your life. And so for me, my highest level program, I work with women coaches and we get them from yo-yo income to 7 figures in 2 years or less.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
At the lower end programs, it's general, just people are frustrated and they need a shift in life. And we work on it on twice a month because it's like going to the gym. You've got to do this on a regular basis to build those muscles or they atrophy and you end up back where you were.
So if you can you tell us a little bit about your path and your journey to get to this level of success where you're at? Because I know you face some adversities in your life and things like that, but can you talk a little bit about the maturation process that it took you to saying, I want to start helping people. I want to start developing this company and developing all of these strategies that I've learned, that because I've seen the results for myself and I just want to go out here and just be a change agent for other people.
So my story is different from most stories because this wasn't actually born of, I want to help all these people. It was me learning these techniques, learning how to shift my own reality and practicing the techniques on my family and friends and starting to see them having the changes. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Until one of my friends says, Shiraz, people will pay you for this. And I'm like, no, this is just a thing I'm doing. It's a hobby. He goes, no, people will pay you for this. So I said, okay, you know what? Let's put that to the test. I'm going to start charging $100 an hour. And I chose what I thought was an outrageous number. And let's see if anyone pays for this. And then people started paying me. I'm like, holy crap. This is a business. But as I continued with the business and I watched the transformations, I just started falling in love with my clients. I started falling in love with what people can go through and become, and hearing how they change. It's not that they start making more money or having better relationships, although they do. The most common thing is I really got to be who I am and not who I thought the world expected me to be. And that's setting people free like that. It just lights me up.
I love that because because being someone that was going through what you was going through the different borders and stuff like that, you could actually start developing a limiting belief or concept about yourself that will keep you bottled in and not allow you to grow or expand. But that's what I meant by developing that resilient type of mindset to, I'm going to create this business. I'm going to start helping people. I want to see transformation in other people's lives. So that's what I wanted to hear from you, because I applaud you for that, because there's so many people that's within this world, man, that have so many gifts, so many talents, and they'll let some things from their childhood, they'll let some things from their family, their friends, people that surround them, and it'll let them hold them back, man. So that's what I love to hear about your story, man.
Yeah. And the thing is, I was held back, not so much as most people, because I quickly got to six figures in my business. I was used to making six figures when I was in corporate, and when I did this business, it got there. But then it leveled off, and then I realized even in corporate, just over 100,000 is the most I ever made. I couldn't go higher than that. In this business, just over 100,000 was the most ever. And so then I said, okay, there's some adversity here that I'm not seeing. And just what you're talking about, being affected by other people, I looked at what was going on there, and it turns out when I was a teenager, I had several family members and friends say, Shiraz, you're talented, you're smart, you're going to be making so much money, you're going to have that house on the beach, you're going to be traveling the world, and then we get to come hang out with you, we get to fly with you. And my brain went, oh my God, they're all going to leech off me. Right? Right? So I made this unconscious decision that $100,000 is enough that I'm comfortable, I live a good life, but it's not enough that everyone could just start staying at my house and flying with me and everything. And so it locked it in there.
Wow.
Right. And when I found that out and we let go of that belief, my income doubled over the next year.
That's amazing, man. It's crazy how we could start becoming the buyers of what we sell ourselves, man. It's crazy. Yeah. I want to ask you this though, because I remember when you reached out to be on the podcast, you said that you went through a 2-year span of no income.
Yes.
And I know some of our listeners could be listening, right, and may have that same thought of what you just mentioned before about like your friends leeching, trying to take from you once you got to a certain level in life or in your business. So at that magnitude of adversity, because I could just think if someone is not making any income for 2 years, there's still bills, there's still lights, there's still water, there's still food, there's still people that's going to always reach out to you. You know, all that becomes a stressor within itself. Can you talk a little bit about what that phase was like for you, and what did you do to get out of that and get past that? Because I'm quite sure there's somebody listening right now that's worried about When is that next check coming in?
Okay. So what happened there, and this actually goes into the story I just talked about. I figured out how to make $1 million a year through an app, and I got in contact with Bob Proctor. I don't know if do you know Bob Proctor?
I'm familiar with Bob Proctor. Yes.
Okay, so he lives in Toronto. Well, he lived when he was alive. He lived in Toronto. I actually managed to just keep hammering away at his assistant and people I know, and finally got into his house to have a talk with him together. And with backing, I know I'm going to hit 7, but that belief I just told you about was still in my brain. These people are going to leech off me. So because this was so powerful that there was no doubt I could get there, and my brain did not want to go there, it pushed me in the opposite direction. Instead of going up, I went down out of trying to be safe from that reality. And I kept trying to make this work for 2 years. And so it was $0. And eventually I used up my savings, built up my debt, had to leave my place, was couch surfing from relative to relative to relative.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was crazy. But it was because that fear of what could happen so powerful, even though it was a false fear. Because the solution to that was, if people come up and say, let's stay at your house, let's go travel, the answer is no. Like, no. But in my brain, I didn't think I could say that. I thought I'd feel guilt or shame if I said that. And now I'm like, no. It's just no guilt, no shame, just no.
Oh my God.
Right.
So man, you've helped impact so many people's lives, and you're changing lives, man. Can you share, if you can, a testimonial of someone that may have came to you that was like not in the best situation, best circumstance, and they listened to some of your steps, some of your strategies, some of your framework or your program or anything like that, and how that led to them changing their life or their business, man?
So I had a client, Sean Stewart, who was a real estate agent. Well, I guess he still is a real estate broker. And he was trying to close deals about $300,000 on the house. But he wasn't getting them. He was getting like maybe one a month, which is not enough commission to really have a great life. And we worked on clearing out his limiting beliefs. And he had things like, you can't be too, like, that's arrogant, that's egotistical. And you have to stay within a certain range of other people around you, or they'll leave you. Right? And so all these things were holding him back at an unconscious level. After about 6 months, he was closing deals at $900,000 plus, and he was doing them regularly. Like, he even called me up and he said, here's the crazy thing that happened this week, is that there was nothing. There was no deals. And I said, you know what? That's not me. My story is I always have deals. So there are going to be deals. And within an hour, the phone started ringing with deals. And he goes, that's just what happens now.
Oh, wow. Okay, man. If you can, man, can you tell us or share with us as much as your secrets that you could divulge? What are some strategies or some lessons, that practical things that people could start implementing into their lives now, that you've already learned this, you've already seen that, and it's limiting beliefs that hold people's back, man? So can you talk about some steps and some things that could help people just get past that hurdle, man?
Okay. So on one end, it's the avoidance of emotional distress. Your mind prioritizes emotional distress over any physical circumstances. And the 3 big ones are guilt, shame, and heartbreak. So when you are in a situation and you think, I'm gonna feel bad if I do, I'm gonna feel kind of guilty, then your mind's already going into protection mode, so you don't have to feel guilty. Like, so for instance, if your friends want to do something and you don't actually want to do it, most people cannot just say, no, I don't want to do that. They have to say, no, I can't because, right?
Right.
And so you don't want to feel guilty for lying to them. So your mind puts things in place so that you're not lying. You don't have to feel guilty. Biggest things are, I can't afford it, I'm too busy, and I'm too sick. And people manifest that ahead of time, so they have them in their pockets. When you can say no to people without guilt, you create so much freedom, and adversity starts to go away because you're in your power. But in general, just look, and if I do that, I'm going to feel guilty, or I'm going to feel shame, or whatever. If you think that, you're deciding that that's how you're going to feel. Most people don't get that. It's, well, no, that's just how people feel. No, you're making a decision of exactly how you're going to feel. And you can change your mind and make a different decision. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you decide to have a different emotion. So be in that space of, I don't have to feel guilty. I don't have to feel bad. It doesn't make, and again, because some people say, well, that makes me a bad person if I say no and I don't feel guilty because they really wanted me to go there. No, if they're your friends, they'll understand.
Yeah.
So that's the one side. And the other side is, where are you getting your fixes, right? Are you getting your fix because you just managed to pay the bills every month? Are you getting your, like, one thing is, there's the pride fix, right? They get it all so easy because they got so much money, but look how much I get to accomplish. Look how I can handle it with just this little budget. Well, now you're addicted to that, and you have to keep that budget so you can stay in that pride. What are the families, especially? You got to sacrifice for your kids. No, you don't, right? You have to be willing to sacrifice for your kid. But if you're in a story, I've got to sacrifice for my kids, you've got to create conditions in which sacrifice is necessary so you can do the sacrifice and feel good about sacrificing for your kids. What if you created a reality where no sacrifice was necessary and everyone got everything they wanted?
Then you would even hear that. That would not even be a conversation if you created that.
Yeah.
It would not even be a conversation.
And that leads to the next thing, is the conversations. How many times have you heard people in conversations and they're basically trying to one-up each other with the adversity they have to go through? So now your brain's like, how can I make things worse so I can get the one-up in the next conversation?
You hear that all the time. It's funny you say that, but that's on your reality TV shows. That's on your news. That's on your sitcoms. And me and my wife was just traveling, was in the airport, and continuously just sidebar conversations. You could just hear this person trying to outdo the other person with how much horrible stuff that I've been through.
Yep. So when you shift the conversation with your friends and you shift the people you hang out with, the conversations become about successes. And now you one up on the success and think about what that's going to do in your life.
I think that's the type of conversation that needs to be heard and expressed, because it's funny you say that, but winners want to be around other winners. Yes. They want to hear these types of stories. Yeah. But it's crazy how it seems to be few and in between a little bit, because it's what people associate themselves or who they're around in regards to getting that form of gratification.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, when you get into that higher space, on the bottom, it's really more competition. But from the success part, you celebrate the other person's success. They inspire you, and you're like, oh, then I should be able to, because they're doing it. And then they're like, oh, I should be better. And it becomes this collaborative movement towards more success.
Right. I found that, there's a stigma when it comes to various types of community of who tries to help each other and who do not help each other. Yeah. And sadly, it's segmented that way. And it's not until people either come through that form of self-discovery or self-awareness and try to have that identity shift, they can actually start seeing things from a different perspective and different light. I wanted to ask you, man, when it comes to this journey of yours, can you talk a little bit about how important it was for you, or if you did, because I thought it was pretty cool for you to share that you seeked out Proctor, and that's somebody that I have some of his books as well that I've read. So can you talk a little bit about when you were on your path, you were on your journey, was there any books, were there any like mentors, were there any coaches that helped you? Because I think that's key to helping people to be successful, even with what you're doing to help other people now, because I think some people sometimes think they could do it on their own. And sometimes you need a little bit of help, you need a little bit of motivation or even that person like yourself that's winning to keep you motivated and keep pushing you to go to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could absolutely do it on your own if you want it to take a long time and be really hard. So that used to be my path. No more. I have 5 coaches now. And I'm like, I need some advice. You tell me what to do. Oh my God, that's brilliant. I will do that. So yeah, definitely. I worked with Bob Proctor. I worked with Joe Vitale, John Asaraf, and of course my mentor that I met in India. I didn't actually talk this story, but I used to have severe rheumatoid arthritis, and I met this guy in India who told me, well, you have arthritis because you believe you're responsible for everyone in your life. And I'm like, what? No, I don't. And he goes, I know you don't think you do, but you've created this belief that you need to be responsible for everyone in your life. And I'm like, but what does that got to do with arthritis? He goes, oh, when you're lying in bed in pain, you don't have to be responsible for anyone. You don't have to feel guilty about it. The arthritis isn't the problem, it's the solution. And I was like, damn.
Hold on, say that one more time again. So say that one more time, because that was eye-opening. Say that one more time, because I know that as you said that, I'm thinking this is equal to this. This is a tribute to that. But for someone to spin it that way, can you share that one more time for me, man?
Okay, so I had the arthritis because I had a belief that I was supposed to be responsible for everyone else in my life.
Yeah.
Anytime I wasn't being responsible for everyone, which is pretty much all the time because it's impossible to really be responsible for everyone, I felt guilty.
Wow.
So in order to get out of the guilt, my body created arthritis, because if I'm lying in bed in pain, obviously I can't be responsible for anyone. Problem solved. So the arthritis wasn't the problem, it was the solution. And when I let go of the need to take care of everyone, the arthritis went away. It just went away.
Wow, I'm just hearing that, and I asked you the question twice because for someone that's listening, I'm saying, how many people is walking around with so much stuff on their brains, on their mind, and it's just weighing them down?
Yeah.
And they think it's their responsibility.
Yes. Here's the thing. The only thing you need to be responsible for are your thoughts, your actions, and the results because of them.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for anyone else on the planet, not even your kids. And that's going to, like, some parents are like, what? No, I have to be responsible for my kids. No, there's a lot of parents that are not responsible for your kids. Right? Like they're just not. It's a choice. And when you love on your kids and you take care of your kids out of choice and not responsibility, that is a light, empowering feeling rather than a heavy burden feeling. So stop being responsible for anyone else. You still have the choice to help people, to take care of people, but now it's all choice. It's all light. It feels amazing.
It's interesting that you say that, because I think about, like, when I joined the service and I went into the Marine Corps when I was 17 years old, and I was on my own, and I felt guilty as an adult reaching back out to mom and dad for money, for all these different things that I should be doing on my own. And thinking about it as you're saying that, I could have took on the responsibility of done more things to really truly take care of myself, because as you're saying that, I made it a burden on my family. I made it a burden on my parents when they had to take money out of their house, out of their happiness, out of their joy, because that's what I was doing. So it's interesting that you say that, because I think us as parents think that we have that responsibility of taking care of a kid that we would consider an adult. And I say that because I see kids in different countries, since I've traveled a good bit, right? I'm pretty sure you have as well, where kids are at 13, 14, 15, doing things on their own out here, and they're super, super successful, and they're not relying on parents. But we've developed that conditioned mindset where we're still supposed to take care of kids, or kids are conditioned to think that I can still go back to mom and dad. So it's interesting you brought that up.
Yeah. And I want you to also think about it, is you could frame it as, I made a burden for them, but it's on them whether it's a burden or not. It's like, oh my God, well, this kid is a burden, or no, we get to help our kid because we love him. It's not a burden at all. We're happy to do this. You don't know what their story was.
Well, I do think it's fascinating, man. And, for our listeners that's listening to this, I think it's a conversation that they could probably even have within their own household of how they apply some of these thoughts or how they apply principles within their household of how we move forward. How do we take care of our responsibilities? How do we take care of having this type of shift of, are we going to let these beliefs that we've created hold us back? Before we get out of here, man, can you share with our audience some key takeaways from your story? Because it's so impactful and it's so profound based off of someone that's been through some form of racism coming from where you're from and dealing with that form of identity to someone that's now successful in helping people, man. So can you give us with some takeaways that they could have and make an impact into their lives, man?
Oh, number one, stop giving a crap what anyone thinks about you. Like, this stops so many people and creates so much adversity, right? My rule is, as long as you're not intentionally trying to hurt other people, go do whatever the hell you want and don't feel guilty about it. Don't care what anyone thinks. Do you. That's going to create freedom. And get into that place of a mustard seed. For me, it's a simple philosophy. Everything is going to work out. That is just the driving force in my life. Whenever adversity comes up, I mean, we're just going through some stuff now, but everything's going to work out great. And I always come out of it, and it always great. And we have that greatness for a while until the next little piece of adversity comes through. But even in that, I don't get worried. I don't panic. I'm like, nope, it's part of the journey. Everything's going to work out great. And when you're in that mustard seed space, it always does.
Absolutely, man. So if anybody wanted to work with you, get you for a session or get you on their podcast or get you for a speaking gig, how can they get a hold of you?
You can just go to energeticmagic.com.
energeticmagic.com. So before we get out of here, man, are there any last words that you'd like to leave our audience?
Yeah, don't be afraid to be the happiest person in the room. You being the happiest allows everyone else to come up to your level, and the whole room gets elevated in happiness.
Absolutely. Guys, if you guys enjoyed this episode, I truly did. Make sure you leave a comment, share with a family, share with a friend, give us a thumbs up. Until next time, God bless.
Thank you so much.
Can't complain at all. Couple dollars in my pocket, no it come and go. Been working on my body, getting healthier. Thank God for clarity.